Catherine Howard, also known as Catherine Howard, was Queen of England as Henry V's fifth wife from 1540 to 1542. The exact date of Catherine's birth is uncertain and is thought to have been born in Lambeth somewhere between 1518 and 1524. Catherine was Joyce Culpeper's 10th child. She had 2 sons and 3 daughters from a previous marriage. Her father, Lord Edmund Howard, passed away a year before Catherine became Queen of England. Her early years are relatively unknown. She was believed to have experienced a difficult and challenging childhood. When Catherine first arrived at the Tudor court, she might have been as young as 15 years old. Her uncle, Thomas Howard, put her in the family of Henry's 4th wife, Anne of Cleves, where she caught the king's eye. In 1540, Henry VIII initially got interested in Catherine. He was lavishing her with presents. Afterward, Henry decided to annul his controversial marriage to Anne of Cleves, to whom Catherine served as maid of honor. On July 9th, Henry had his marriage to an annulled. On July 28th, a secret wedding took place at Oatlands Palace in Surrey between Henry and Catherine. She was between 15 to 21 while the king was 49. He officially crowned her queen on August 8th. Henry seemed to be madly in love with his bride for the following 14 months. Mary Lascelles had been living in Lambeth while Catherine was a little child, living under the loose supervision of the Dowager Duchess of Norfolk, her step-grandmother. Mary was advised by her brother, John Lascelles, to apply for a position in Queen Catherine's household. Mary refused, citing the Queen's numerous extramarital affairs as proof that she was aware of Catherine's misbehavior when they were living at Lambeth. They lived in the Dowager Duchess's home together with her music instructor Henry Manox and Frances Dereham. John informed Cranmer that during the absence of the king and queen in October, Catherine had extramarital affairs. Audley and Seymour decided to wait for Henry to arrive after hearing the information from Cranmer. Cranmer was asked to inform Henry because Audley and Seymour were concerned about offending the king. On All Saints' Day, November 1, 1541, the king received a letter highlighting Catherine's allegations while he was in the Chapel Royal. The king learned that Catherine had relationships with Henry Manox, a music teacher, Frances Dereham, who had addressed her as his wife, and her distant cousin Thomas Culpeper. On November 7, 1541, Archbishop Cranmer led a councilman mission to Winchester Palace in Southwark to interview Mary. Even the intimidating Cranmer thought Catherine's emotional state was awful. He said that she saw her in such grief and sadness as he had never seen anyone, so that it would have heartbroken any man's heart to have gazed upon her. He told the guards to take away any things she may use to commit herself. The initial romance attributed to Catherine was with Henry Manox, her middle-aged music instructor. Catherine was allegedly around 13 years old at the time. The Dowager Duchess discovered Catherine and Manox hugging each other, and they both admitted to having a sexual relationship but insisted that they did not sleep together. Catherine's connection with Frances Dereham, the Dowager Duchess secretary, was also called into question. Dereham thought he loved Catherine Howard, who was 15 years old when their relationship began in 1538, and he admitted that they had an intimate relationship with her. Dereham said in an interview that they had been pre-contracted to marry, but when they were discovered in a compromising situation, the Duchess sent him off to work in Ireland. Catherine hired Dereham as her secretary after he asked for a job. Catherine, on the other hand, denied that the two had ever entered into a written agreement and argued throughout her trial that he had sexually assaulted her. Thomas Culpeper was a close friend to Henry VIII and a courtier who was a long-distant cousin to two of his queens, Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard. In 1540, Culpeper captured Henry's new young bride's heart, and then by 1541, they had begun to spend time together and alone at night with the help of Lady Rochford, Anne Boleyn's widowed sister-in-law, and Catherine's lady-in-waiting. Lady Rochford was questioned, and she decided to speak because she was afraid of being tortured. She described how she had kept an eye out for Catherine backstairs as Culpeper made his way out of the Queen's room. The letter from Catherine to Culpeper that was found during a search of Culpeper's lodgings provided Cranmer with the evidence he was looking for, even though both Culpeper and the Queen denied the claims. The letter seems to confirm Catherine's love and affection for Culpeper. Lady Rochford was also mentioned in the letter. A privy councillor forced her to surrender the ring previously possessed by Anne of Cleves and presented to her by the king. It indicated the end of her royal and legal powers. Despite these measures, she never had her marriage to Henry legally annulled. Catherine was removed from her title and imprisoned on November 23, 1541. She was left uncertain until Parliament presented a Bill of Attainder on January 29, 1542, which was passed on February 7 of that same year. The Royal Assent by Commission Act of 1541 made it treason, punishable by death, for a queen consort's failure to disclose her sexual history to the king within 20 days of their marriage or to persuade someone to have an affair with her. On December 1, 1541, Culpeper and Dereham were charged with high treason at Guildhall. On December 10, 1541, at Tyburn, Culpeper was beheaded, while Dereham was hanged, drawn, and quartered. Their heads were put on spikes on London Bridge. The exact date of Catherine's birth is uncertain and is thought to have been born in Lambeth somewhere between 1518 and 1524. Most of Catherine's relatives were also imprisoned in the Tower, investigated, convicted of covering treason, and condemned to life in prison and confiscation of property. Her uncle, the Duke of Norfolk, removed himself from the controversy by withdrawing to Kenninghall to write an apology letter, blaming his niece and stepmother entirely. On Friday, February 10, 1542, when the Lords of the Council came, she allegedly screamed and frightened as they put her into the barge that would transport her to the Tower. As her flotilla passed by London Bridge, where the heads of Culpeper and Dereham had been hanged and had stayed there until 1546. Her execution was scheduled on February 13th at 7 in the morning. The execution was witnessed by Sir John Gage, a constable of the Tower. Catherine is thought to have spent several hours the night before her death practicing how to put her head on the block, which had been delivered to her at her request. She required help scaling the gallows, though, as she appeared pale and terrified. She admitted that she deserved to die 1,000 deaths for betraying the king, who had always regarded her so kindly. Catherine allegedly said in her last moments that she will die as a queen, but she would have rather passed away as Culpeper's wife. "Have pity on my soul, O God. I humbly ask that you pray for me, kind people." Catherine was then executed by being beheaded with the executioner's axe. Lady Rochford was executed on Tower Green shortly after.